If I could only pick 3 exercises for your shoulder impingement, here's exactly what I would do to fix it. What's up guys, Dr. Nick here to go over your shoulder impingement. We're gonna be going over 3 exercises for this, but we gotta really focus on what the shoulder impingement is. We have our bone and our shoulder blade, and impingement is when we get a little bit of an encroachment or space limitations in that joint of the shoulder, and it causes irritation. Now when we raise our arms over our head, normal impingement happens, just if it's symptomatic or asymptomatic. So the 3 exercises we'll be focusing, one specifically at the shoulder from a strengthened perspective, an upper back one because we can't miss the upper back from working well, and also a stretch at the shoulder. So let's get into it. Now this first stretch we'll be working on is a simple cross body stretch. Now the thing is, this is often performed incorrectly where we just take our arm and we just rip it across our body and our shoulder blade comes along for the ride. When we're thinking about working this from a stretch perspective, we gotta get more specific on it. When we have limitations in the shoulder that contribute to shoulder impingement, we have to look on the back of the shoulder. Typically with impingement, when we raise our arm overhead, we'll get that pain right in the front of the shoulder. That's typically because the back of the shoulder isn't as flexible or doesn't move as well. So we have to address it at that point. Now, knowing that, we have to create the separation from the back of the shoulder to the arm bone, because that will create that relative motion of what we have to actually stretch. If we just pull our arm across our body and our whole shoulder blade comes along for the ride, it's not creating any of that relative motion and we're not stretching that particular area. So here's how the stretch is performed. We're gonna put your arm straight out in front of you. Typically when we're dealing with the impingement, I like to stay below the shoulder height. So here versus like up here and going it. So below the shoulder height, and then from here, you just cross your arm across your body until you start to feel a nice little pulling sensation here. Once you feel that pulling sensation, then here's where the magic is. From here, I wanna pull my shoulder blade back towards my spine. So I want to think about really gripping my shoulder blade backwards as I'm holding this position. When I do that, that creates that relative motion between the arm and the shoulder blade moving. If my arm is here, my shoulder blade's here, if I pull my shoulder blade back, I'm creating that space versus letting it come along for the ride. So from here, I pull back and that increases the stretch through here. I'm gonna hold that for, if we're just holding for a passive stretch, 30 seconds, and then relax, and then you would wanna repeat it so that you accumulate about 2 minutes of time under tension. If we're just holding a stretch for 30 seconds, you feel nice and loose after it, it's not doing much. You gotta get more input into the system. Typically with stretching things, you like about 2 minutes of time under tension. That was enough time to actually manipulate the tissue to actually make some change. So again, cross my body, I feel the stretch in my shoulder, then from here I pin the shoulder blade down and back and I hold that. That will increase that stretch to the back of the shoulder or the side of the shoulder, and then I hold that, 30 seconds elapse, I relax and I repeat it, say 4 rounds for 30 seconds. That's 2 minutes of time under tension. This is important because it targets that back of the shoulder capsule. That's important because we need the arm bone to actually glide backwards into the shoulder as we raise our arm up. If it's stiff and tight in the back, it's gonna push that arm bone forward. That causes that irritation. So by doing this stretch, we loosen up the back of the shoulder. When your arm raises up, the shoulder bone can actually slide back further because it has more flexibility. Feels a lot better. So that's stretch 1. The next one is focusing on rotator cuff strength. So it's not gonna be this classic one where we're just going like this for reps. We wanna build time under tension and do this a little bit more strategically and specifically. Now, when this is done, a lot of times the shoulders will just round forward like this, and we'll just do this exercise like so. Now, this doesn't set the shoulder in a good optimal position to then function out of. We have to preset the shoulder blade into a position and then work the arm bone, which is gonna target the rotator cuff way more effectively. So instead of being all rounded over like this and trying to work the rotator cuff, you wanna sit up nice and tall. Before you even move out, you want your shoulder blades squeezed back really, really hard. You maintain that tension. Then from here, elbows by the side, and then you go out on the band like so, and you wanna hold it for time under tension. In this case, we'll hold it, say, for 5 seconds. And then you come back, and then you let it relax and you repeat it. This little nuance of getting the shoulder blades back in a stable position as you move out helps orient the shoulder in a better position to then work out of, and it gets more input into the system. This is good because a lot of times with shoulder impingement, the shoulder blade of the shoulder comes forward, and that is the roof of the shoulder. So if it's forward like this, and every time you go to raise your arm up or go across your body, it's impinging it. So when we teach it with this exercise to get back and then work on the rotator cuff strength, we're teaching it to essentially open up and create more space into the shoulder. So again, nice and tall, squeeze the shoulder blades back, I hold that, then I go out like so, hold it for 5 seconds, and then come back. Now if we're going for 5 seconds, anywhere from 6 to 10 reps is good. You get more input into the system, more time under tension, more actual muscular burn and activation to this area. And you'll feel the rotator cuff light up throughout this. This next one, we're gonna be using the side of a table because we're gonna be working on the upper back activation. This is gonna really bias the upper back muscles because we gotta work on T-spine extension to ultimately help the shoulder. So our arms are gonna be here by the side. We're gonna be down like so. Then from here, shoulders go back first, arms up, and then I'm just gonna try to get up as far as I can, and I'm just gonna hold this position. I hold it for a little bit, and then I come back down. What this does is works on all of the posterior chain back muscles to really orient the body in a better position in an upright position. So if I'm actually in a standing, if I'm upright like this, if all of this is forward, which contributes to T-spine kyphosis, rounded shoulders, which then has effect on how your shoulder actually functions because the shoulder blade is a slave to the rib cage. If I'm here like this and I'm just working, shoulder blade can't move. I got to work on all of my upper back muscles, the whole posterior chain of my back muscles to then get up. Because if it never gets input into the system, I don't get strong in this position. So when we get the shoulder blades that are on the rib cage, we get them up and out of the way, we can actually function better. And we do that by addressing T-spine work with this exercise. So that's just to kind of orient that into how it actually plays a role into why you're doing it. So off the edge, arms by the side, shoulders back first, arms up, and then you go up like you're kind of like flying here, and then you hold and come back down. Shoulders back, arms up, all the way up, and really want to really have a good mind-body connection of using your upper back muscles to actually perform this. And you don't need a lot of reps to get really fatigued. It's actually quite hard exercise. So do it correctly, get a good mind-body connection, you'll feel a lot better. I hope this video gave you some insight and value on how to actually go about solving shoulder impingement. We focus on a mobility exercise, an upper back, and a localized strength exercise for the shoulder. So hopefully you gain some insight and understanding a little bit a better approach on addressing shoulder impingement. If you did find value in this video, I'd greatly appreciate it if you support my channel by subscribing down below to the channel, like this video, leave any comments down below, and it would really appreciate it, and it would really help out the channel. Until next time, this is Dr. Nick.